couple of buzzing stocks, and Vodafone Idea has definitely been one of them. The stock has moved from about 6 odd rupees to just around 8 rupees, actually over 8%. And because those sums are so tiny, or the numbers are so tiny, in an absolute sense, it will be like a 30% move on the stock in the last few weeks. Ashmit is joining in. What we do understand is that this case, the AGR case, has been listed for the 19th of September, which is a Friday. But Ashmit, we really need context here, because the AGR matter has been thrown out by the Supreme Court so many times, and there are, I think a review petition, a curative, so much has been filed. So now, on what grounds is VI approaching the courts, and what sort of relief are they hoping for?
Well, interesting use of language as far as Vodafone Idea is concerned in their petition. On the face of it, it appears to be a challenge for against additional AGR dues. At the outset, what Vodafone appears to be arguing is that, look, there's a figure, the original figure that was confirmed by the Supreme Court was about 58,000 crore rupees. Subsequently, we had seen the moratorium and then the relief that had been provided by the government. But the broad thrust of Vodafone Idea's argument is that that's the figure that was agreed upon. What they're challenging, at least on the face of it, is an additional demand of about 5,900 crore rupees that has now been slapped on them, again, by the DOT. Now, they're questioning this additional demand, but the use of language is interesting. They go on to say that the DOT is adding to the original demand that was confirmed by the Supreme Court, that it's not in keeping with the Supreme Court verdict, but then also goes on to say that this additional demand comes despite the fact that there's been no reassessment of even the original AGR dues. They go on to say that with the original AGR dues itself, there were issues of arithmetic errors, computational errors, double counting of certain entries. And then there's a reference made by Vodafone Idea that even in the original one, there was no change made to these arithmetic errors, to the double counting errors. And therefore, going on to seek quashing of this additional AGR, saying that this total AGR burden is too heavy for them, that it will result in the company going out of existence. And that's where things get even more interesting. While the prayer that they've made before the court, while on one hand they are seeking quashing of the additional demand, they are also seeking reassessment of all of the AGR dues up until the year 2016-17. So both these arguments likely to be made before the apex court. And just like as you had rightly pointed out, 2019 is when the original judgment had been passed. 2020, the modification petition was rejected. The review was rejected. Curative petition was rejected. A latest application that we saw a couple of months back, that was also rejected. So clearly, Vodafone Idea trying its luck once again, making its plea before the apex court. The website tells us on 19th of September, Friday, is when this case will be taken up for further hearing.
And Ashmit, has DOT said why have they imposed this additional demand of 5,950 crore on Vodafone Idea? Is it for the old demand till 2017, or is it
for... The DOT is not commenting. The little that we know falls... Well, the DOT is not commenting on this additional demand. What we do know, however, is that the rationale that Vodafone has talked about is that the DOT felt, in communication between the company, the telecom company, and the DOT felt that even in the original figure of 58,000 crore rupees, it came with a caveat. The caveat that the DOT had given back then is that this figure of 58,000 crore rupees, I beg your pardon, will be subject to any further audits that may take place, any further assessments that the DOT might do. And that is what has been cited, at least that's what Vodafone Idea says as a part of its petition. And that has been the grounds on which the DOT has slapped this additional demand. So Vodafone Idea coming back to the court once again, questioning that additional demand, and also, along with the additional demand, questioning raising the issue of a potential need for reassessment of the overall AGR dues up until 2016.
Oh, so though the scope of the main plea is just under 6,000 crores, VI is perhaps hoping that this will allow them to make a larger case about, the threat to the company to continue as a going concern, so on and so forth. I mean, this is stuff they've said in the past as well. Very interesting, Ashmit. We are all prepped up, and you have a Friday blockbuster coming up, if indeed it is on the 19th. Thank you so much for joining in with that context. It's really important. And like I said, it's